Las Vegas, I am headed to Resorts World Theater September 27th and 28th. 2 shows only. Get your tickets at BertBertBert.com.
Did you know they make plugs with tails on them? Like a bunny rabbit tail? Like a rainbow unicorn tail?
I mean, it's easier to get out, I guess.
Hey guys, make sure to check out the Bert and LeeAnn bundle, the best of both worlds bundle at BertBertBert.com for $40 today.
That's right. Check out the best of both worlds bundle with Bert and LeeAnn stuff starting today, $40 a bundle. Hi, guys.
Hi.
I haven't seen you forever.
Yeah. It's been a long time, right?
Been way too long. What's happening? How's life? Huh? What's going on?
You're the empty nester.
Yes, I am.
It's true. Yeah.
How's
I
that?
am. It's interesting, actually. I feel like we've been so busy since we dropped her off. I haven't really gotten the opportunity to process it.
It's also only been a minute.
1 minute.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
probably may not even have sunk in yet, you know?
Not entirely, especially since, not complaining, but that girl is texting me all day, every day. FaceTiming me, texting her dad, FaceTiming her dad. I don't know if she's doing it with Georgia, but I have seen and talked to her more this week than probably the last 4 years combined. I mean, I'm almost not even kidding. So I miss her, obviously, and the house is very quiet. And I'm shuffling a lot of cats, and you know her cat, and then our outdoor cat. I don't even know if you guys know this. Shirley showed up on our porch in really bad shape, and we didn't know what was wrong with her. I thought she'd been hit by a car, and when we took her to urgent care for cats, they determined that either she had eaten a poisoned rat, or a rat had eaten poison and then eaten her food, since she lives in our garage, and she had gotten poisoned. So like all of her internal organs were swollen, and she had like stuff running out of her nose. She had shit leaking out of her butt.
Oh, poor
And
baby.
it was awful. This was before we went on vacation. Obviously took her to the hospital. Within 24 hours, she was completely fine. So they had just given her whatever she needed and pumped her full of fluids, and she was fine. But when they released her, they said, we know she's an outdoor cat, but with this heat and the condition she was just in, she should not be outside. So she lived with Georgia in Georgia's room. So I have 2 cat condominiums on the second floor of our house. And Frankie is not too keen on the smell of another cat in that house. Frankie sits outside Georgia's door and hisses at the door. So there's no cat
Integration.
No. Frankie's like, I come out of that room, and if I smell like Shirley, Frankie hisses at me. She's not about it. She's not going to have it. So I'm like time sharing my time between these 2 cats. And Shirley doesn't really need a lot. She's not used to a lot of human interaction. She's an outdoor cat. She just showed up at our house one day.
Yeah.
It's not a cat we chose. She chose us. And she was sleeping in our garage at night, and I just let her out in the daytime. But she's like cooped up in a room. So I go up there and play with her because she's used to being so active. I feel like, well, she needs exercise. She doesn't need me to sleep with her, but she needs exercise. And then Frankie needs all of it. She needs exercise. She needs your lap. She needs you to pet her. She needs you to not touch her. She needs you to pay attention to her. She needs you to talk to her. And she needs you to sleep with her. And I can't bring her in the room. Bert's allergic. And so, yeah, I've been kind of like, there's a lot of cat management since I got it's just a lot of cat shuffling. But so I haven't really had time to miss Isla yet, or Georgia, but I know that I will probably by the middle of next week. We're so busy until the middle of next week that I feel like I just got to get through the week. But I think Bert's had a bit of a harder time than I have. He seems to be today coming out of it, but he's been in a little bit of a fog, just kind of a little bit out of it, sort of. Not in a bad way. He hasn't been like negative or anything, but just like you can tell something's a little off,
Yeah.
So, but today he seems much more like himself. So maybe he just needed a few days. He did sob, like a lot, like aggressively, like an embarrassing amount when she left, but not in front of her. So in the plane.
Yeah.
It was pretty rough. So I don't know. I'm kind of, the first night I was like, let's not go home yet, And then the second night I was like, let's go home, but then let's go to Target and like buy some care packages for people. And then last night we had a work dinner. Tonight we have somewhere to be. Tomorrow night we have a work dinner. Saturday night we have a concert. Sunday night we have a party. So we're like really busy every night till next week. So I think next week's when it's going to start sinking in. But, Isla's doing great. I just was FaceTiming her right before this, and she's made friends. She made it to all her classes on time and with her supplies.
Nice.
She's done all her homework. She bragged to me today. She has 3 classes. She has drawing, design, actually 4, drawing, design, English 101, and a first-year student class, like an executive function kind of class that the whole school has to take. She told me that her drawing was the second best drawing in the class. And she was really proud of that. I've been trying to get her to get back into her art for years. And she did charcoals and pastels and acrylic. And we had an art tutor for years. And then she just completely lost interest. And finally one day I was like, why have you lost interest? And she said, I can't get it to look like what I see in my head. So I'd just rather not try. And I was like, of course, tried to parent that to no end. And it didn't work. And I was like, you know what? She'll pick it back up if she wants to. And first thing they had to draw was a still life. And she said, I guess it was some stuff. And then in the background, there was a table. And she was the only student who also drew the table. So she was really proud of that. She was like, I couldn't believe no one else they just focused on that one thing. And I drew like everything I could see. And the teacher said mine was really quite good. And she was like, one girl's was better, but she only drew the bunny rabbit. It's like, okay. So I think that's all good. She's getting along good with her roommates. One of her roommates brought a cat. So there's a cat in their dorm. And she said she's not figured out how to like eat consistently yet because she's not a breakfast eater. But her first class, every day her classes start at 11. So of course she's sleeping till like 9:30, doesn't eat. By the time the first class is over, she's starving and she only has half an hour to get between class 1 and class 2. So when Georgia was there, Georgia was like, one thing you're going to need is containers to take food to school with you. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't do that. I'm not doing that. And then today she was like, I think I might need those containers to take things between classes. I was like, yeah, I think so. So I think she's doing good. She seems happy and excited and engaged. And she said her social battery's a little low. She needs a little more sleep, but she's sleeping good. She just needs a little more sleep. So
It sounds great.
yeah,
Good for her.
figure it out.
Yeah.
We've launched them, right? What are we going to do?
Amazing.
In the spirit of this book club, Bert and I did visit the adult Superstore in Vegas this past weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Just for fun.
Amazing.
I don't know if he's posted any of it on his Instagram, but wow. Have you ever been in one of those stores?
I have.
So, what's the difference between a superstore and just like a normal
a store, like
Yeah.
not a superstore.
This, mind blown.
Okay, then
Like,
no.
did you know they make butt plugs with tails on them? Like a
That's
bunny
weird.
rabbit tail? Like a
What?
like a rainbow unicorn tail? Like a butt plug that has a tail. Did you know they made that?
I mean, it's easier to get out, I guess. I don't know.
8005S. I didn't know that. Did you?
No.
No,
No,
never
now I
really
know.
thought about
Now
it.
I know.
They don't sell that except at the Superstore, I would imagine, right? I mean, so yeah, there was stuff in there that I was like, wow. I mean, wow. There was a lot of bondage stuff in the store and stuff where you go, is that even possible? Like, what body part are you tying to that ring?
Yeah.
that's at your neck.
Okay,
like
that is a direct lead in to the
To
position
this
of
book.
the
Yes.
day book.
Yeah.
Because that is literally it made me angry because it made me feel like I'm a prude or something. I do not think that I'm a prude. I think I'm pretty. But I reading through this, I was like,
Reading?
how in the what the. How did they like? I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. I was like, you know what? This is the book that I think the perfect perfect audience for this would be, you know, like when the Olympics this summer, it was all this talk. Every time there's an Olympics, they talk about all the sex that goes on in the Olympic villages, all the Olympians who are fucking each other.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they are the perfect audience for this book.
That's oh my God, it's so funny.
Many of these, I was like, you literally have to be a professional athlete to perform some of this stuff.
Stephen took this assignment very seriously. Like, as we're looking at this book together, right? He's literally studying every position and going, you could do that. You could put your leg there. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you married? Like, I cannot possibly get in these positions. But he was like, yeah, we could do that one. That one's not possible. Like he literally, like,
I mean, it's like doing a plank
each one and like gave them a pass or a not pass. Which ones were acceptable? We could
doing
try
a plank off of a chair, but with one arm here, and then he's like bent around. I'm just like, no, I'm 52 years old. I work out. I cannot do. I cannot do this.
I work out and I cannot do this either. The book where we did 2 book club books this time. One was just so for fun, and it's called Position of the Day, Sex Every Day in Every Way. And it was ridiculous. It was
fun.
It was super fun.
It was very fun, but like
it was fun for you. It made me angry. It made me feel like I have failed already. I've just picked up this book and I have failed. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm out. Like, it made me really mad.
I have failed. I've failed already.
When I got to the one where they like just started drawing furniture in larger like sizes, they have like one where it's like in a rocking chair, but the rocking chair is the size of a king size bed. And you're like, nobody owns that furniture. Like, this is just absurd. I was like, okay, I can't possibly like take this seriously.
And then not to mention, there are several positions here that require 3 men. And I'm like,
what? 3 men?
Yeah, there were.
Wait, I missed the 3 men.
There were 2 men.
There are several.
Look, there's one.
Like,
3 men.
That there are
3 men. And I was like, well, that's just not happening here.
There's
or 2 women or 2 men or, 2 women and a man. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That's
This
off
is
the
not
table.
a Christian book.
No. There is one, or there's a
Southern
couple
Baptist
actually
Guide.
where like 2 people are standing facing each other, not touching. And I was like, oh my God, we did that in the supermarket. We are so adventurous. Like, they're not, like, it's not even, you're like,
in the supermarket.
like, we're such voyeurs.
I'm dying.
Like,
I am
oh my
dying.
God, it was
Some of these are like
Just
serious Cirque du
absurd.
Soleil stuff.
Yeah.
Like you have to be like an aerial acrobat. The 2-chair snare. Like the names are killing me.
Yeah.
The 2-chair, the intermediate swimming lesson. I mean, come on. I want my mommy is one position. It's so bad. And it's where, wait, huh? That one is like, what? The woman is holding the man in a door jamb while the man plays with her boobs. And that's called I Want My Mommy. Is that considered intercourse? And that's on May 9th. We missed that one. They're actually dated. What's today's
because
date?
you have all
part.
365. Right?
September
So it's
12th is Get Off Your Rocker. It's a rocking ain't no way. There ain't no way anybody I know can do that. Have you seen it?
Wait, what are we doing? No.
Look at September 12th.
I'm getting there.
Glasses.
Wait, this woman's holding on to a shelf while her
Oh my God. Like, look, her feet are like on the, that's not, she's levitating. She's literally levitating in this picture.
It's not a real thing.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
literally
Not a
magic
real thing.
tricks. They're magic
It's
tricks.
a magic trick. Okay, the one before from yesterday, a woman is holding onto a shelf while a man is behind, while her feet are on a chair.
It's called bang gliding.
It's called bang gliding. And a man is between her legs behind her, having sex with her while she's facing the ground, holding onto a shelf, balancing on a chair. What?
It's
just
so
why?
confusing.
Like, I'm sorry, but like
clothes on, I couldn't even try this. Like my vagina would prolapse and have and it just fall out of my body. There's no way.
No, I'm like, I'd have to like invest
fun.
in a ladder and like, you know, like a pulley system.
And clearly a rocking chair. There's a rocking chair. It repeats itself.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Quite
There's
a lot.
some
deep
of
investments.
rocking chair positions.
Let's see what they have for Christmas.
Yeah.
The ho ho ho.
Santa's helper involves a rocking chair. You do need a rocking chair. So, do they have an equipment list in the beginning? Does it say rocking chair,
They
desk,
do not. They
office
should,
chair?
because
Yeah, and they should explain where you could get such a rocking chair because I'm telling you, the glider that we got when we had babies is not going to do the
not gonna
job.
cut
It's
it.
not.
Well, there's no rock to a glider. There's just a back and forth.
There's just,
I wonder if there's any, like, look at this.
Yeah.
What is this right here where he's just carrying her upside down backwards? There's just, I mean, I'd have to see a chiropractor after almost all of these.
And he'd have to be like The Rock. Like,
The
you
Rock.
know, like literally the only person on earth who could perform this feat is The Rock.
But I don't know if he's flexible enough for half of them.
Yeah.
Some of them he could do with, oh my God, the
It's
customs
nonsense.
officer. I mean, what a big swing you have. So this one requires a swing. So do you do it in the yard?
Yeah, it's not a very practical book. It's not a
No.
book that you can pick up and go, oh, I'm going to try this tonight.
We're
You're
gonna
going to be
do
like,
this.
okay, well, we're going to have to save up for the swing and the pulley system and the giant rocker. And
I'm going to have to
we're going to have
stretch
to
some
meet
more.
people. Like,
Oh my God.
Exactly. We're going to have to invite 3 men over.
Right? This one's called Looking for Loose Change. And the man is standing and the woman is upside down, laying head down, but facing out. And he's giving her oral while her legs are up the wall. So this poor man has got to hold her up and bend his neck and perform while
it's
she's
like,
just
to what
hanging in
end?
midair.
You could lie down and do that. Like
Yeah.
everyone could lie down
then
on a
more
bed.
And I
comfortable.
feel like most people would be happier that way.
Yeah.
Like everybody would have a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
enjoyment.
You'd
with
actually
that.
be
You know what I mean?
comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, this looking for loose change, my body parts would be filling with air. And as soon as
Yeah.
I laid down, they'd be discharging. And it just would not be very sexy. I'd be shooting ping pong balls out of places that should not have ping pong balls in them from this looking
my
for
goodness.
loose change.
I think that like if you're looking for like an intense workout book, then maybe this
I think if you're looking for a good laugh, you should
Yes.
definitely get this book. It's fun to like look at it together.
If you're
Like
training,
we had a lot of laughs
Yeah.
looking at this book.
if you're
together.
training for the
But
2028 Olympics in like I don't know, like
It-
maybe the pommel horse or something.
Right?
It's a very specific set of skills.
The uneven bars. There's something for everybody
Yeah.
in here. It was
if you're an Olympic athlete.
if you're an Olympic athlete or a Cirque du Soleil artist
If you're
or
52,
The Rock.
maybe not.
Maybe The Rock.
So
Maybe The
Questionable.
Rock. Maybe The
Clear.
Rock.
He might be a little too old.
It was hysterical,
Yeah.
this book.
Yeah, it was very funny.
So did you know, here's something else I learned at the adult superstore. Did you know that you have to clean out your butthole before you have anal?
What?
Exactly. I did not know that. They sell supplies
What do
for
you
you
like
to
an
flush out. Yes, it's called an enema bulb. And you squirt stuff in so that when you have anal sex, you don't squirt stuff out.
It
So
sounds like preparation for a colonoscopy.
Who does this? I mean, as a straight woman, or what's the proper term? Cis woman? As a straight woman?
You're
I'm straight. As a woman who has sex with men who doesn't want to have anal sex, why would I know that you have to clean your
Right.
butthole out? But there's a whole wall in the adult superstore that's like, clean
Okay.
your asshole out.
Wait a minute. Walk me through the adult
Yeah.
superstore. How
Is
big
it
is
two
it?
stories?
It's two
is it like
stories.
Costco size, or are we talking like Forever 21, the 2-story?
It's not as big as Forever 21,
Okay.
but everything's very compressed. So it's not very spread out. And I think that's by design because then that way you can kind of like lurk places and not be seen. You know what I mean? Like at Costco in the big wide aisles, you can see 2 or 3 people. Here you're like, oh, there's only one person in this anal enema bowl aisle.
Cart. Oh, they've got a tail in the cart.
Oh, rainbow unicorn, butt plug tail. I'm with you. But yeah, so the bottom floor was all toys and accessories and like blow up dolls. Oh my God. They had these foam torsos that are like boob to vagina, or it's a butt one where the vagina is from the back. And they feel like squishy, like cold human flesh, right? Because they're not heated, but like room temperature human flesh squishy that you can have sex with. But they feel like
an actual human?
A little bit. They're not quite as firm, and they're definitely cold. But I was like...
Is this like a fidget toy?
They do have boob fidget toys. They have boob like these things, squeezer things, anxiety balls. Yeah, that look like boobies. They do. But the torso thing freaked me out a little bit. And then what else freaked me out is they have like blow up dolls, but then they have like foam dolls that look like kind of like real people. They live like flesh. It's not blow up. But it's like foam. And then in the back corner, they had a foam like 12-year-old girl.
Ew,
that was disturbing.
Okay, yeah, that's disturbing.
That was really disturbing. She had like braids and she was wearing a schoolgirl outfit, and that was a little creepy.
Oh.
But yeah, I had this whole world I just didn't know existed. The top floor is all lingerie and outfits. And also in the top floor, when we went up to the top floor, the gentleman that worked there explained to me that if I wanted one, I could have a private viewing booth where I could watch porn, but I could not have sex in that booth. I could just go in a private booth and watch porn, or I could go in the theater. And the theater has multiple people, can't have sex there either. But there's a theater where multiple people are watching the same porn, but you can vote the porn off the island. If you don't want to watch that porn and you all vote not to watch what they're currently playing, you can choose a different genre of porn as long as you all vote on it.
I'm unclear why in this day and age would you go someplace to watch porn? Can't you just...
Maybe hoping that you can secretly have sex there with somebody else. Oh. I don't know. He was very clear on the not having sex. So clearly that's problematic.
Right.
So there's that, yeah. But did you know you had to clean your butthole out before you had anal? I'm still curious that no one... Okay, good. So I'm not the only one. Because I was met with, Bert was like, no shit, LeeAnn, duh. And I was like, duh, I don't know these things. I don't know nothing. I don't know anything about anal sex. I'm sorry. And I didn't... Did you know what a butt plug is for?
No. What is it for?
I mean...
Like a tail. I mean, you said there's a tail, but I'm not really... Is that like for a costume? Or
do you think it's to accessorize? Do you know what a butt plug is? Because I didn't. Did you? Okay.
Now I'm like, maybe I don't know.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Like I thought it was just like another form of pleasure, right? Like I thought that's why people used it.
Stimulation for people who like to...
That's what I thought. I thought you would put it in and that people would like that, right? Like putting a dip in your mouth and how people like a dip or something. That's what I thought. I don't know. That's my country ass. It's like, it's kind of like a dip for your butthole.
Dip for your asshole.
Now that I say that out loud, that's ridiculous. But that's what I thought. Maybe people just like holding it there. Like a pacifier, just like a pacifier. Oh my God. That's what I'm so stupid. That's what I thought. But apparently a butt plug is to like stretch your butt out so that when you have anal sex, after you've cleaned it out, it's not as painful. And I guess maybe you don't like rip or something.
Oh.
So a butt plug is like a gentle stretching, a preparation. Yeah, I didn't know any of this. I thought if you had anal sex, you just like, hey, can I do this in your asshole? And you went, sure. And that's what you did. But I guess not. I guess there's a lot of
this wasn't covered in these two
books. I was going to say, talk about prep. Like apparently you need some prep for that too.
I feel like we did a lot of preparation. We read 2 books. We looked at a book and read a book.
Now we need to go buy lots of accessories.
None of that information was in these books.
I learned more in the anal superstore than, anal superstore, the adult superstore. It wasn't anal.
Only the anal superstore.
It is a really specific store.
It did have one whole wall that was just anal. And I was like, wow, okay. It's a whole new world. I'm so glad to know I am not the only person that was totally lost in this store. I was totally lost. Wife of the Party is sponsored by EveryPlate. I can't believe how expensive it is to enjoy a decent home-cooked meal nowadays. I can't even go to the grocery store without getting sticker shock. But listen, I know an awesome solution that's got your back, and that's EveryPlate. EveryPlate delivers dependable, affordable, and delicious recipes right to your door. And forget that sticker shock. EveryPlate meals start at only $2.99 per meal. Makes sense why they are America's best value meal kit with thousands of great reviews. Each box contains pre-portioned ingredients and easy-to-follow recipes ready in about 30 minutes. EveryPlate is all about everyday low prices. Their pre-portioned ingredients mean that you only pay for what you need. Seriously, their meals end up being even more affordable than your fast food go-to. Plus, they're home-cooked and made with fresh ingredients. Personally, I love meal kits that show up on your doorstep because I don't have to think about what I'm making for dinner. I have been using EveryPlate, and I love just pulling all the fresh ingredients out of my fridge, whipping something up in 30 minutes, and having a delicious meal. Join EveryPlate today and pay only $2.99 per meal. Plus, get 50% off your first box for all box sizes. Get this amazing deal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and entering code WIFE299. That's code WIFE299 at everyplate.com/podcast.
Okay.
Lots of toys there. I didn't buy any toys. Bert bought a ton of toys, none of which I will be using. There was one toy called the domestic violence. And I was like, what? Why would you buy this toy called the domestic violence? It is yellow. It is a dildo, I guess, for lack of a better term, a toy. And it is like, not joking, it's like 11 inches long.
Oh my God.
And I go, how are you putting that? And it has a thumb on it. It looks like a finger with a thumb like this. So you put the finger inside you and the thumb stimulates the outside of you. He turned it on and I was like, that would rip my vagina in half. It's like moving. It's like having a moving vehicle in and on your vagina. I don't know who needs this much stimulation and for why. It just looked like painful. It had many different
Oh my goodness.
It had many different gears. And it did gears. One of the things made the thumb go up and down. The thumb went round and round. Okay. It was like vibrating.
This apparatus was not covered in the book.
It played zippity doo dah. I mean, it was like crazy. It was crazy. So some of the toys he bought, I was just fascinated. Who would use these toys? Now, full disclosure, I have a vibrator. I have one, but it is not large and it is pretty straightforward. And I'm happy staying right there based on what I saw. I don't know if I need any of the shit I saw in that store.
You really did your research. You really committed to this podcast.
I did. I was just part of my empty nesting was we explored the Superstore. Mm-hmm. Now, I bought myself a nice piece of lingerie, and I actually bought my husband a nice piece of lingerie. I bought him some lace panties, men's boxers, briefs, but they were lace. And I was very proud of that. He came out with 2 enormous bags full of clothing for himself, but didn't buy anything for me. So I found that quite curious, right? He
has a buying problem. We all know this.
He
right?
does. So he had a bag full of toys.
So shocking.
And then he had a bag full of clothing he bought for himself.
What kind of clothing? Like more boxers? Like now I gotta know.
I got a reindeer G-string for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
You can guess what the reindeer was and what was in the nose of the reindeer. It did have horns. He bought a Speedo looking thing that had a zipper in the front for easy access.
It doesn't sound very comfortable, though.
It doesn't sound very comfortable to me either. He did zip his pubes up in that thing.
One would imagine.
I don't think that was comfy. And then he bought my same lace underwear, but it was buttless. Right? So from the front, it looked like mine. And then he turned around in the back and it was buttless. So I'm assuming the anal plug he bought goes with that outfit. I don't know.
So it's like the chaps version of the lace underwear.
Of boxer briefs. Chaps boxer briefs. That's so brilliant. That's what they were. That's exactly right. And then he bought like several other kind of jock strap in design looking things with like black and stud and whatever. And then he got into a little bit of like neck thing with like rings down the side where you could strap things to things. And I was like, we are not using that. That is a joke gift I buy or whatever. But I was kind of disappointed he didn't buy anything for me. I bought stuff for him, but he didn't buy anything for me.
I am utterly flummoxed by this conversation because I wasn't even aware that they sold like lingerie for men.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, actually, I would not have.
I just imagine like a bunch of like teddies, bustiers.
I mean, actually, although when you describe the reindeer thing, I'm like, oh yeah, actually, I know that stuff exists, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
but that's like more of like a
novelty store.
Yeah,
exactly,
a novelty. Yeah, you could buy that at Spencer's.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Probably, let's say, or a store like that. But it made me think. You know, Bert put on the lacy underwear that I gave him, the full butt lacy underwear. And he's like, these are actually kind of comfortable. They're kind of nice. And I was like, why don't they make men's underwear out of lace, but the lace is like a marijuana weed or a catcher's mitt or, you know, like a bass fish that's made of lace. You know what I mean? Where so you can kind of like split the difference of macho and, ooh, I kind of like lace. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe there's a new market for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
What can their acronym be? BOO8S? BOO8, no, 5S. BOO5S?
I clearly can't do that.
I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, he didn't buy anything for me. I was kind of bummed. I thought surely he would have picked something out. But I guess he just wants to insert things into me instead of dressing me up like, I don't know.
He doesn't want you covered in any way.
Maybe he read the Position of the Day book. There's no clothing in that book.
No, none.
But I mean, there's a lot of training required to fulfill the Position of the Day, like that goes beyond any of the physical training that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Like it's like a full-time job. Like,
yeah. Well, I think it's a full-time job to maintain half the toys Bert bought to bring home. I don't know how you keep them sanitized, right? Oh, you just put a butt plug in the dishwasher when you're done?
I was just thinking that. I was like, how
you're
do
empty
you
nesters. I mean, I guess you could.
Right next to the baby bottle?
Right.
Oh my God.
The like dog food bowl, the butt plug, they're all going in the dishwasher together.
The cool thing about going to that adult superstore, I really mean this genuinely, is it was really cool to see that there are so many different ways that you can experience pleasure, right? Pleasure, I think, has become sort of taboo. And in some cultures, even in the United States, pleasure is like you have to bust your ass before you get anything that's just straight up pleasure. And you don't talk about pleasure of the flesh because it's sinful. But should it be really thought of as sinful? I mean, I don't think so, not from my brain. I think that God made a woman and a man's body to experience pleasure, right, with someone else, but also by yourself. Why is it such a taboo thing to go into a store? And a lot of it is fetish. And what's so bad about that? You know, as long as you're not hurting another person.
Yeah, and also just like having a laugh, like because you guys, it sounds like you also had a laugh in there, and. So being able to laugh about this stuff and, you know, to emerge in the reindeer thing is like, you know, it's funny. It's important to like have a sense of humor about it all too, because, you know, it's just bodies and.
It's just bodies and it's supposed to be fun. You know, it's not supposed to be taboo and secret. And, you know, it made me a little bit sad, not that we should have this type of store in a mall. But it made me sad that this type of store is just so taboo. Like you don't want anybody seeing you going in. You don't want anybody to see what you're buying. All the bags are black. And, you practically have to sign a waiver. Not really, but there's just like so much secret around this that you wonder how much of that secret contributes to the sick part of people who have sick maybe is not the right word, but secrets make you sick is why sick came to mind. But the dysfunctional pieces maybe is a better way of saying it around sex.
Yes, but devil's advocate.
Yeah.
You also don't want to walk in the house. I mean, I guess the black bag would conceal from your children.
Yeah.
They don't need to know exactly
don't.
what mom and dad are up to.
No, for sure. They don't. No, that's not what I mean. There's an age appropriateness for all of it.
Being secret and being appropriate are different, right?
Yeah. But also like appropriateness with do you want your neighbors to be like, oh, they just went to the Superstore.
But why can't we look at that and go, good for them?
Yeah, but I guess I just don't really want to know about what my neighbors are doing or not
No, but
doing.
of course you wouldn't be like peeping Tom. But if you saw somebody walking in with a blow-up doll on their shoulder, you couldn't miss it. Our initial thought as a society, not you two as people, but me too as a society, you'd be like, oh my God, scandalous. It would be scandalous to see someone walk in their house with a blow-up doll or with, something that you couldn't miss maybe. But why? Even the domestic violence vibrator, it's like somebody likes that. Somebody likes that. Maybe, I think it maybe could have a better name. But, that name's not great. Yeah. Once I turned it on, I understood it. It looked pretty violent. But yeah, I don't know. It just makes you, the cool thing about my podcast, in my opinion, is I get an opportunity to have a conversation with you guys about that, about the opposite of what my unconscious bias is. I walk in a place like that wanting to know where my biases are. Because I definitely have them in every arena, in mental health, in sex, in marriage, in every finance. Everybody has unconscious bias. And there's no way that you can learn or grow unless you look for them so that you can dispel them or you can decide to double down on them, right? If they're unconscious, you don't know where you stand on them clearly. So I was really surprised at what I didn't know because I don't watch porn. And I don't think there's anything wrong with watching porn or working in the porn industry if that's what works for you. As long, again, as nobody's getting hurt and everybody's safe and it's appropriate, age appropriate, go for it. But I just was surprised at how, little I've been interested in that. No interest in that adult sex world. And how little I knew about it. It was really interesting to me. I was interested in my own naivete, right? As I wax poetic about going into the adult superstore. But anyway, we did have a laugh. It was really fun. Bert knew a lot more about what was going on in that store than I did, which is good, I guess. But yeah, it was fun and it was funny and I'm really glad I did it and it was very apropos to this book club. We just did it this weekend, just kind of on a whim, So for those of you looking to date your husband or wife again, an interesting field trip would be to go there.
There you go.
With an open mind, not even with the intention of buying anything maybe, but maybe with the intention of learning. So I'll share my own personal experience about learning. And I do this again to share so that other people could maybe be inspired to learn. I'd never used any kind of toy or anything like that in our sex. And one night we were checked into a hotel and there was an intimacy kit. And we thought it was hysterical. We're like, what is in this kit? There was a feather. I think I've talked about the feather before. The feather was like maybe 3.5 inches long. And we were like, what do you do with a feather? And what do you do with a feather that big? Who knows? But it was really funny as we dug around, there was a little magic bullet in there. And in the spirit of curiosity, I was like, well, what do you do with this thing? I mean, I know what you do with this thing. I'm not stupid. I know you don't clean your ear out with it. But, I was like, what does that do to your body? I'd never played with anything like that before, ever. And so we were like, what the heck? Let's play with the feather. Let's play with the lube. and let's play with this toy and see what it does. And I was like, wow, this is a whole new experience of sex. I'd never had any interest in like searching out. There was no part of me that went, you know what? I think today I'm going to go buy a vibrator. That wasn't in my brain. It wasn't nothing was wrong with our sex. So there was no reason for me to think I needed any. I think I looked at toys as like when you need help. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. We didn't need any help. So I didn't need any toys. So it just didn't really make sense to me why you would own something like that. Until that one hotel stay and that one little bullet. And I went, oh, that's what this is about. Okay. It doesn't have to be because something's not working or because you're just this wild, kinky, crazy person. It was just something that enhanced everything that was already going on. So then I started going, okay, well, we don't have sex with lube. We don't need lube. But what if we did? What is that like? And then I started looking at that. Those are the simplest things ever. I've kind of tapped out. I kind of don't need anything more than that. I'm not interested in a butt plug. I don't need like nipple clamps. I don't need anybody to tie me to the bed. I'm not kinky, none of that shit. But what we have explored has increased what our curiosity about each other just enough to make sex a whole lot more enjoyable. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he talks about that in the book too, about not necessarily about, toys and paraphernalia, but just about trying something different. Like, and not like even trying a different position or anything, but like trying to do something without just the usual steps that people usually have, the usual steps that they take to do
to get to the business.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so to just try to do things differently, to go, okay, what if you don't put it in? What happens this? What if we both just lie here and, I think that was an interesting chapter that he talked about, because it's sort of like the book is set up in like case studies from people, like he's a sex therapist and so his clients, and talking them through like out of ruts or whatever. But
that book is called Love Worth Making: How to Have Ridiculously Great Sex in a Long-Lasting Relationship. I think it's perfect to jump into the book now. You described it perfectly. It's like case studies and how he helped these people with case studies. I didn't think that's the book we were going to be reading.
I did not either.
No. I didn't want to read this book about sex. I learned a lot from this book, but this is actually not what I was looking for this book club, right? But I'll tell you this. I thought for people having trouble or really stalled or really kind of blah or plateaued, people having real trouble with sex, it would be very helpful, I think.
I think it's helpful even if you're not having, even if everything is working really well.
It was. I got some tidbits, but it wasn't like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely some chapters that I was like, okay, I'm not going to have a takeaway here for me personally, but like everything's working just fine. But I also learned things from it and found it helpful. I think it was a really good book, but it wasn't
really good
what
book.
I thought we were reading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But. So what did you learn from this book? I know I know the things that I learned that I went, oh, that's really smart, and I'm going to put that to practice.
Well, you're testing me here because I read this.
I know, me too.
Okay,
then
ago,
I'll start.
So,
Maybe that'll help you. One of the things I learned was about the sense of smell and arousal. And I wish I could remember what he called it. But he said at the beginning of the day, if sex is your thing and you want to have sex with your spouse, to connect with them sensually in the beginning of the day. And one of the examples he said was to smell your spouse, which sounds kind of weird. But our sense of smell is actually our strongest sense. It connects us to memory. It connects us to emotion faster than any other sense. That's not to do with sex. That's just to do with how your senses work. So he was saying, if you want to start the juices flowing without it being like, foreplay per se, the sense of smell is one of the ways to do that. To just kind of really take a moment and smell your partner early in the day and really enjoy that smell. And it already gets your body kind of moving toward your partner, whether it's sexually or not. And I thought that was really cool. That's something everybody can do, is just take a moment when you kiss your partner good morning, when they're off to work, to take a moment to really connect to what they smell like too. I love the way Bert smells, not when he's been working out, but like his general Bert smell. I've always loved it. I always love it right here in his neck.
That's one of the things he talks about in the book, actually, about like a good predictor of if your relationship is going to work or whatever, if you're compatible, like, do you enjoy your partner's smell? Now, obviously not every moment, like after they've been working out or whatever, but that's a really good indicator. And I was like, oh, that's so fascinating that's, I think it was when he was talking about setting the stage, you know, not like everything has to be like, okay, let's just immediately have sex now. Like sometimes the slow burn is better, you know?
Sometimes setting it up in the beginning of the day pays off later in the day.
Yes.
Simple touches. Like I started doing this with Bert. I start just like putting my hand on his hand when we're driving. I don't need to hold hands, but just to touch him throughout the day. I haven't been doing that in forever. You know, you're so at rote going through the motions of your day. You don't think about that very simple light touch on somebody means something later. And I'm not doing it for sex. I'm doing it for connection.
I think that like, for me, that sort of thing sort of tapped out, or we got out of the habit from being like as physically connected when the kids were little.
Yeah.
Because you just get touched out by the end of the day. It's like, I loved all the cuddling, but also I need some autonomy and bodily autonomy at some point. So then it's like, instead of cuddling on the couch, I'm like, oh, let me just bask in this chair alone. And yeah, so like coming back to that, I think he had a lot of good like, I don't want to say tips. It's not that kind of book where it's like, oh, do this, then that, do this, then that. But like, just about, instead of thinking about, okay, what always works, let's do the thing that always works. Like instead to just sort of do those small things that don't seem sexual necessarily. It, you know, the smelling, like the smelling their neck or whatever, or the hand, you know, touching them in the car. But just all of those little things pay off later on, instead of just thinking like friction. What was he saying? Friction and plus something equals, I don't know.
Yes, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah. But you know what? My takeaway from the book, tell me if you had a different one, was that great sex is directly related to great connection.
Yes.
Right?
I was just going to say, that was the one thing I took away from this book, is that it's really all about the connection. Like, and he really emphasized how to make the connection better. And it was less about like the sex or whatever. Like there was very little sort of about like how to have great sex. It really was more about connection and developing that relationship more so than actually the sex.
So really
part.
It all comes back to Brene Brown and vulnerability. And like, no, but like being, you know, being brave enough to be vulnerable with your partner, and then which builds that connection, which makes for better sex. So
yes. Yeah. He had a couple things in the book that I liked about connection. One was, he said he had one of his case studies do an exercise of just getting totally naked and being next to each other in bed with no expectation, with no sex, no expectation, and to just kind of see where the day took you, so to speak, you know, see where the night took you, and no expectation of it. How often do you sleep naked with your partner who's naked without having sex? Not very often, but it does feel different to sleep next to someone naked. Hard to do when you have kids in the house. I personally am an empty nester, so I can do that. But I thought I hadn't thought about that as something really simple. And maybe if you can't sleep all night naked, or you can't start out your night naked, maybe at some point in the night you can be naked together without any expectation. I thought that was really cool. Another thing he said was, that I thought was really interesting, was, you know, sex books talk about, what does my partner want or like?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me.
This, no, keep going. Yeah. Keep going, but
His perspective was, you should be concerned with, what do I like? What do I want? And taking care of yourself in what you want and need to be turned on or fulfilled. And I thought that was really cool.
Okay, yes.
You're both like chomping at the bit.
Well,
Tell me.
That was the one thing that in my brain, I was like, it's so, I don't want to say controversial, but the idea that you should be taking care of yourself in the moment and not your partner. But there's so much pressure put on you to take care of your partner, then it becomes this like chore, and then it's not fun for anyone.
Yeah.
So if you're focused on you and you're aroused, your partner inherently becomes aroused based on that, right? So it was so interesting that was one of the biggest takeaways I had, was that you need to stop. I don't want to say stop worrying about your partner, but if you're focused on your arousal and making that happen, then the trickle-down effect happens.
And that's not even the part that I was resonating with, but it connected, that he talks about how for women, how for cis straight women, whatever, but that's who the book was sort of directed at mostly, but that the feeling of wanting to be pursued is stronger than wanting things to go perfectly.
Yeah.
And so this idea that everybody's like doing their homework on like, oh, what do women want or what do men want, when really everybody wants to feel wanted above all, like wants to feel pursued. And that's what, dating and being younger and being in that like more, just wanting to be pursued is such a huge turn on, really.
It is to be desired.
Yeah.
That word desire is very powerful, right? How often in your daily or weekly language do you use the word desire, right? It means something real specific. And I think being desired is what is really a turn on. And to desire someone else is pretty powerful too. What you said about taking care of yourself and the other person taking care of themselves is the best connection. Isn't that the way life should work in general? You have to put your own oxygen mask on first, right? It's the same principle over and over again. But we don't, for whatever reason in sex, are so concerned that the other person is having a good time. But there's nothing better to me than when Bert's having a good time in life. And I love watching him do his own thing. And he loves watching me. I mean, we just went surfing, and one of my biggest joys was watching him get up and surf. And then he said the same thing to me. That it was more fun to watch you have fun than for me to have fun. Just apply the same thing to sex, right? If you think about watching your kid play baseball, and they're having so much fun, how much that gives back to you. I don't know. That was a cool part of that book, to go, oh, that's what you should be doing. And I forgot about that. What women want is to be pursued. That is what women want. We want to know that you're thinking about us when we're not around.
Yeah.
Not obsessing, not I'm your whole world, not you got to send me flowers, write me love notes, bow at the moment I walk in because you've missed me so much. That's not it. It's very simple. Bert used to send me a postcard from the road every once in a while, just like maybe 3 times a year. And that's all I really needed, was like, oh, he's thinking about me when I'm not around. It's not that deep. Women are complicated for sure, but not as complicated as men think, I think.
Agreed.
Not as complicated as they think. I like this book a lot. It wasn't the book I thought we were reading. I thought we were reading a hybrid of Position of the Day, Sex Every Day in Every Way, and this book, Love Worth Making. I thought it was it would be somewhere in between.
But so I thought it was going to be like, do this, then this, do this, then this. Yeah. And he sort of talks about how, like, he dispels all of that, saying like, I can't tell you what's going to work. Right. I can't tell you, touch him here like this and this will happen.
Right.
Because
he's like, go read the 8 million other books out there that are like that.
And he's like, I don't know him. Like, you know him.
Yeah.
Like it's talk about it. Like,
and
work it
everybody's
out.
Different.
Yeah.
And talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, how many people, okay, I'm going to ask you point blank. Do you guys talk about sex with your spouse?
We do.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because we do too. Like, constantly lately. But
we do a lot, but I will say that in the last couple of years more so. I think that it sort of went dormant for a little while, like all the talking about it went dormant during a certain stage of child raising. I don't mean that sex went dormant, but like the talking about it. I mean, honestly, talking about anything except for just
what are you making for the lunchbox?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's getting her to dance class? Who's getting her to the appointment? But the talking, that definitely sort of revitalized a couple of years ago, and in the context of vulnerability, of like being really open and and that, like, I don't know, sort of.
You don't have to do anything you don't want. We'll just edit it out. So say whatever you want, and then just tell me you don't.
No, I don't even know what I want to say.
Okay.
Just that it's helpful, like, to start that conversation again. Yeah.
I think it's more than helpful. I think what it is empowering. And it is validating, right? To your partner and to yourself, that I care enough about this to talk about it. Dr. Phil, in one of his books, said this brilliant statement. Sex is 10% of your marriage unless there's a problem with it. And if there's a problem with sex in your marriage, it's 90% of your marriage. I think that is so true. And so talking about it is 10%, but that 10% is so rich and full because you feel connected with this person that you're connected with physically through sex. You're connected with emotionally, mentally, maybe even spiritually for some people through this act that you do only with this one person. If you're married and monogamous, if that's the choice you've made, which I have, it just makes that relationship and that connection, which is what makes good sex, even stronger, is talking about it and having open conversation about what you like, what you don't like. I mean, that's how you take care of yourself. It's not to say that you're pleasuring yourself and he's pleasuring himself and you're in the same room. That can happen, sure. But that's not what that means. Taking care of yourself is saying, I don't like it when you do this. It rubs me wrong. And it's okay. Now you know.
Yeah.
Let's try it differently, do it a little differently.
Or even not even about the sex part necessarily. Like, today's a day where I just need to be naked next to you and nothing else happen. You know what I mean? Like those kind of conversations. Like, this is what I need in this moment.
And for the other person to honor that,
Yeah.
My husband go, okay, sure. And then 2 minutes later, he's like, are you sure? But I mean, we're already naked. But I mean, how about a back rub? You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude. So yeah, for your person to honor that, I just need to be close to you right now, right?
Yeah.
Wife of the Party is brought to you by AquaTrue. I'm always looking for ways to make drinking more water easier, so I don't even have to think about it. That's why you've got to check out AquaTrue. AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process, and their countertop purifiers work with no installation or plumbing. It removes 15 times more contaminants than ordinary pitcher filters. It's the same technology used by all the major bottled water brands, but now it's available for your home and without the plastic waste. It's even portable, making it perfect for renters or college dorms. Best of all, the water tastes fantastic. Guess who went to college this weekend? Both my daughters. And one of them, the one that's living in the dorm, who doesn't have enough room for a Brita in her teeny tiny fridge, has an AquaTrue tabletop, so it's on the countertop that she just has to plug in, and she's all ready with nice, fresh, filtered, purified water. And that makes me so happy to know she's drinking good water. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, my listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com. That's AQUATRU.com and enter the code WIFE at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use code WIFE. Any takeaway, anything you find in this book that you were like, man, I don't know if I resonate with that?
Well, again, I don't remember enough about it. I remember finishing it and feeling like this was a good book. It was well written. He's really credible. Nothing was like laid on too thick where I thought like, come on, dude. Or like, I felt like, oh, he's probably a good therapist.
Yeah, I think he is a good therapist. He seems like
But I did also feel like, okay, like it was just okay, like fine. There's not a lot that's going to stay with me for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like anything rubbed me the wrong way, that's for sure. But there wasn't a whole lot that stuck out either, where I was like, oh yeah, this is going to change our life.
Right. I think I felt the same way. I didn't feel like my life changed forever, but I felt like there was just enough little bitty things here and there, like the sense of smell, that just kind of shifted my awareness, and the being naked, and the pleasuring and not pleasuring, taking care of yourself, and how that affects the other person positively. Those were my big takeaways. Everything else, I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
It was well written. It was easy to read. For anybody that's having trouble in their sex life, I think it was really good.
Yeah, and the case studies, for the most part, they're not people who, like, they sound like really normal people getting tripped up with very normal things. It wasn't like...
No butt plugs.
No, it just wasn't stuff that, they weren't... Sometimes you read case studies and you're just like, okay, how is this ever going to apply to anything? Like, they were just, people who were busy with work or busy with kids or whatever. So
one of the interesting case studies I found was the one where like the woman, like they had gone through sex therapy, they were having a great relationship, whatever. And then all of a sudden she was wildly attractive to somebody at work.
Right.
And she was like, there's literally nothing wrong. I'm not unattracted to my husband. We've worked on our sex. Things are great. And yet here I am. And I was like, that's so fascinating that is such a normal experience for most people, right? Like that can happen. And it doesn't mean there's something wrong with your marriage or the relationship or whatever. Like I just thought it was really interesting that he chose that to put in the book, because clearly it's relevant enough to enough people that you're like, oh, so this does happen, you know, to be wildly attractive to someone else and to not have to follow through with it and to still have a great relationship and whatnot. Like I thought that was really interesting.
That was really brave to print. For him, really brave. You're right. I hadn't thought about it like that. It was relevant enough. He felt like, he should put it in the book.
It's going to speak to people, right?
I haven't had that since I've been married. I haven't been just like wildly attracted to someone else.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't been like, in an office or in a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like your office is all women.
There's a lot of dads in the Girl Scout troop, y'all. No.
It's not like we were camping with the dads in the Girl Scout troop. Like, for the most part.
True. We don't have a lot of,
the committees at school, they were all women, and I'm not attracted to women. I mean,
I guess that's true.
So I don't really.
Okay, fine, whatever.
Well, I just don't know that it's like an accurate representation. I just feel like, how would that have been different if I had been like working at some big company? Like I'm just trying to like devil's advocate. I don't know. But I just haven't been exposed to anybody.
No one's as sexy as our men. I guess that's just it. They're just killing it. Is there something that, this is what I was looking for in a book. What I was talking about finding that little sensual kit at the hotel and it sparking a curiosity in me and Bert, and in the two of us having, I guess, the bravery to go, let's just see what this does. And if it does nothing, no harm, no foul. If it's awesome, that's super fun. I think I was maybe looking for something like that. And I don't know why. I've already done that. So I don't know why I was looking for. Maybe I thought there was some other secret key to something. I don't know.
Because I think that's what we want, right? Like you want an answer. Like I want to know, what do I need to do to make this relationship amazing for the next 40 years that we got coming, right?
Yeah.
Like, like we're very driven by the right thing to do. Like if you exercise this many times, you're going to stay healthy. If you eat this, you're healthy. If you do this, right? So like, what do I need to do to make this better, healthy, correct, whatever, right? And this book does not do that. No. I'm not sure that any book can.
Yeah, well, it does.
But I would like some direction.
I think that the direction is the staying connected, and that just that is a challenge. It's going to just morph into different challenges over the years in different ways. And I mean, some of them, like, imagine like right now you're an empty nester, but Bert isn't retired. He's still going to be on the road. Maybe you'll travel with him more. Maybe things will look different like that. But then there's, at some point, there's going to be retirement and two people cooped up in a house.
I already
all the
feel
time.
like two people cooped up in a house already. I already feel that way.
Yeah. And so that's a different like vulnerability and intimacy sort of challenge, because there's a certain amount of that where, we've all experienced that in the pandemic where it was like, okay, we're all just going to go to our rooms because we need some alone time, like enough already. And so to like be able to have that, but also to be able to still get excited about seeing one another when you're seeing each other maybe a bit too much.
Right. It's an interesting phase we're entering into, ladies, not just as the empty nester, but as our age, right? As our age, maturity level, energy level, strength, agility, flexibility, not for the position of the day book. But I've been thinking about that a lot. I mean, I'm like, because we're by ourselves, I'm like, I cannot be the person who comes home every day and watches TV. I cannot. I will not be that person. There's nothing wrong with that person. But I run at such a pace that as soon as I sit down, I'm going to fall asleep. So then I'm going to start resentfully having no life at all because I work. And if I just came home and sat down, I would just sleep until I got up and worked again. So I have to figure out and plan ways to kind of naturally insert sounds like a retirement home activities, but plans. And how do you do that? And who do you do that with? And what do you do that like about? Is it about going to see music? Is it about hiking? Is it about drilling down on your diet? Is it about going to dinner with friends? Is it about making a specialty cocktail? Is it about going to this, have you seen this amazing disco bingo that's happening in LA? Have you seen this thing? Okay, we have to go to that. It's like bingo in a dance club and there's big prizes like cars. Like it's a crazy, insane, young, old people bingo.
Okay.
So like,
and they're just playing disco? Are we dancing?
There's like disco music with disco lights everywhere, and the music's really loud. It looks like it's the inside of a dance club, except you're playing bingo. And the prizes are major. It sounds amazing. I was like, I will totally do that.
It sounds like a field trip for Troop 80085 or 8005S.
5S. Well, 80085 will bring some 8005S
Yes.
to the BINGO. But yeah, it sounds like a field trip.
Yeah.
Sounds like a field trip. But I keep thinking the effort, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of effort to find things to do, to keep yourself busy. Not just go home and go, well, let's watch another episode of Lost or whatever, I've seen 100 times. Do you feel any anxiety about that?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I think it's very easy to get stuck in the like routine that you do every day, right? And if you don't have those inherent plans, like we did this random, like the other day, I was like, let's go to happy hour. Like, because we had nothing happening. And it was like the, fifth day in a row or whatever. I was like, let's just go see what's happening at happy hour. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just random things like that where it's like, we haven't been to happy hour in forever, right? You know what I mean? Like, that never happens. We don't eat dinner until like 8:30. So
right.
It's weird. But yeah, I think it does take an effort, and you have to think of doing things just a little bit different than you have before, or it's very easy to get stuck in the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm starting to. Do you have anxiety about this?
I don't. I think I'm not as go as you. I enjoy being holed up in my house, although I will say we have had extreme heat in Los Angeles for a couple of weeks now. And earlier this week, I was like, we need to go out to a restaurant. we need to do something because my mental health is suffering. And then the heat broke like the next day. But yeah, I definitely got that sense of, oh, okay, maybe I'm not as into being cooped up as I thought I was.
Right. I'm a list maker by nature. I don't know if you know this about me. Spreadsheet maker, list
We're
maker.
aware.
Are you aware?
We're aware.
I am that type of person. I think I'm going to make a spreadsheet of stuff to do and activities. That's so I can go because I often, and I'm not even joking. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, that happens to me all the time where I'm like, oh, what should we do? And then I have like no ideas. And then
I have lists
10 minutes
of these things.
later, I'm like, oh my God, we should have done X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, I do.
yeah.
I'm like
crazy.
a blank.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Total blank. No idea. Nothing.
We're like, let's watch a movie. What movie? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we've seen everything. And then I have like 9 pages of movies that we haven't seen. I was like, what? Like, why does your brain do that?
I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I think I need a spreadsheet.
It's a good idea. Actually.
If you have a list, please share.
I was going to say, can we have like a shared document here?
Yes. 80885 shared document.
That sounds
Yes,
good.
we should.
I have actually started like in the notes app on my phone a few years ago about that exact thing because we'd sit down as a family and go, "What? Let's watch a movie! Yay! Everyone's excited to watch a movie." And then
30 minutes later, you're still flipping through,
scrolling through Netflix,
yeah,
scrolling through all the things, and we're like, you know what? Forget it.
Just
I'm
never
tired
mind.
now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to bed.
I'm the same, and I get
crazy.
frustrated that's the roadblock to having a full life outside of work.
Yeah, but it's
me.
it's easy for me just having the notes app of that. I have one that's TV shows and movies, and so anytime somebody's like, "Oh my God, you've got to see," I'm like, "Okay, let me just type it in here."
Mm-hmm.
And so then we do sit down. We've used it, and
Yeah.
we've watched a couple of things from that. And so I also have that but it's more of a me list of things that I want to do in terms of, places that I want to hike, places that I want to go, that kind of thing. It wasn't like, I think that would be interesting to do as a family too, or as a couple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a couple, that would be good. Disco bingo's on my list for sure.
I mean, that was the fun thing about going. Richard and I went on to New York for our 20th wedding anniversary. And that was fun to just sort of plan ahead, like, oh, okay, what sort of things do we want to do? Well, what would you do if you were in New York? Oh, okay, I want to do that too. Oh, I don't really care about doing that thing. You could do that alone or whatever. And so yeah, maybe like approaching life more as if it's a trip. Like,
It's a good way to look at it. Approaching life more like it's a trip. Because there's so much to do in LA. But you live here for so long, you just keep going through the motions of doing the same things. I'm sure it's true in any city, even a small town. I know when we were living in Bowden, we ate at the Lazy Donkey. We want to go to eat? Lazy Donkey. Lots of restaurants. Kept going back to the Lazy Donkey. Yeah. Great food, but every once in a while you shake it up. Go somewhere to Terry's Diner instead. Just to have something different. But you
if
just
you
don't
want to be wild.
I know, right? You just kind of get in a rut. I think it's the same with sex. Like he was saying, you just get in a rut. You just get in, okay, let's do it this way, this way, this way. Done.
Yeah, and the rut isn't necessarily bad. I mean, it can be very pleasant, enjoyable, but also it's like shaking something up is really great.
I make it 10% better.
Yeah.
20% better.
Yeah.
I think this was a great conversation. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. Oh, I don't have a book club book prepared. I just thought of it
For next
now.
time.
What's our next book club book?
Well, I think you're going to have to post on Instagram when you decide.
No, wait. Where's my phone? Hold on.
Wait, do you have a list?
I do.
Okay.
Oh,
There you go. See?
there you go.
You're prepared.
I don't know about a list, but I have some ideas. Okay, hold on one second.
I read like nothing this summer. I'm actually very disappointed. I read like 2 books.
You did?
Okay, besides these 2. But yeah, I'm kind of bummed actually. I don't know what happened.
Okay. I read this book that was awesome. I don't know that we should read it for a book club, but it's called Sociopath.
Oh, I'd love to read that.
It was so good.
Oh, I'd love to read it.
I
Okay.
heard about this book.
It's written by a psychologist who is a sociopath.
So yeah, it's sort of like a hybrid memoir-ish.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have it on my
It's really good.
hold list.
I've already read it,
Oh,
but
cool.
it's really good.
Okay.
And I listened to it on audiobook because she read it herself. The writer read it. But she knew she was different from a very young age, but couldn't figure out why or really even what specifically for some of her childhood. And even through her young adulthood, and she ended up going to college and taking a psychology class and getting really curious about why she was different. And so she ended up being this like expert in sociopathy because she is a sociopath. And so she started questioning the diagnoses, like the criteria for sociopathy. And she just started kind of questioning the ability to rehabilitate. Or rehabilitate's the wrong word, but like much like dyslexia, where or a processing problem, where you can get better at processing. It may never go away, but you can get better at it. So she started questioning. I guess the general consensus is you can't. As someone who has sociopathy, there's nothing
really
you can do.
Gain empathy. Yeah.
And she was like, I don't believe it. I don't buy it. There's something different about sociopathy than what you're talking about. That's like psychopath stuff. And so she did her doctorate on it and then really did a deep dive on sociopathy. It was a really well-written, interesting. She almost wrote it like a novel. It read like a novel.
I'm fascinated. I'm in. If Cathy's in, I am in.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely read it. If you want to do it for book club, sure.
I'll do it for book club, and I'm ready.
I think the first thing that we associate with sociopath is like, oh, well, are they like a serial killer or something? And it's like, clearly she's not. If she wrote a book about it and is labeling herself as such.
No, but
So it's fascinating.
she had very violent tendencies. There's a lot of violence in her book, violence and real egregious behavior that's like criminal behavior. So it was fascinating. And the why, she explains the why for the criminal behavior. It was a really good book. I actually like started it and did just listen to it almost straight through over a course of a couple days.
What's
I couldn't
the book
stop
called?
listening. It's called Sociopath. It's called, where is it? Sociopath by Patric Gagne. And
It's probably Gagne.
oh, is that right? It's not Gagne. It's the sex
Is
podcast.
Christian in the
it's
house?
Gagne.
Yes, I think you're right.
Is it Gagne?
Gagne.
I can't say that shit. I'm not French, y'all, or Canadian. Okay, her first name's Patrick. It's a
Okay.
woman named Patrick.
Patrice?
No, she
Patrick?
pronounced
Okay.
it Patrick. She called herself by her name. And she spoke in her mom's voice. Patrick, why are you stomping bugs on the reg? Not really, but you know what I mean. Okay, so Sociopath.
Okay.
It was really good. I'll listen to it again. It was really, really good.
This is going to be like a hard veer left from
From the sex books?
Yeah.
from the position of the day nonsense.
Right. It was so fun to read this book. And well, to flip through that book, there's no reading.
Yeah.
I'm glad
It's
you
really
guys had fun.
We did it together. We like sat in bed and we would like look at a month at a time. Like
Oh.
it was fun. We had
Wow.
a good time doing it.
Richard had a good time looking at them, but he was like, I don't know if I can.
What are you
The funny
asking
thing,
me,
Stephen
Kirsten?
was like, oh, you could do that. There was never anything about him. He's like, your leg could go in that position. I was like, what are you talking about? That cannot happen. He's like, we could totally do this.
Was Richard flipping through it going, who does she think I am?
No, I mean, I think he
Jeez. found
found it quite exciting, but also was like, I don't know how realistic some of this is. And I'm like, some of it?
There's like 3 positions that are realistic.
Yeah.
Like 3
I
of
can
the
do
365.
the one that was laying on the bed.
You mean missionary?
I'm available for that.
I'm available for that. You know, where I'm like this and you're on top, that one.
But honestly, like I wish we could give you like your listeners I wish we could truly give a play-by-play because it makes us sound like we are square and frigid and like not available to do
you think so?
exciting things.
I don't know.
If I heard people talking about, oh, I couldn't do any of that, I would just think, seriously.
No, but we
Whatever.
described
Yeah.
some.
Like,
Looking for coins?
they're-
Come on.
Literally acrobatic feats. I cannot stress this enough. Acrobatic feats. Did you know that I need a knee replacement?
You do?
I found this out at the beginning of the summer. Yeah, I need a knee replacement.
Talk about a left turn.
It's because you've been doing the position of the day book. I knew
So
it.
I'm like, a 52-year-old who needs a knee replacement is just not capable of pulling this sort of stuff out of her butt. Like,
Well, I'm actually glad you brought that up. I mean,
But if you had a butt plug with a rainbow unicorn hair, you could pull it out.
exactly.
I'm just saying.
And exactly. And I am the most square of everybody because I didn't know about half the stuff in the adult superstore. But I don't think I'm square, but I think I'm kind of normal. Not that anybody who's not normal is abnormal. That's not what I mean. But
Just
I'm not
unaware.
swinging from the chandeliers.
I think you're unaware.
I'm a little naive, but at the
Like,
same
I'm
time,
unaware. Like,
I'm not a
last
prude.
time we went into a sex store, I was like, I don't understand some of this stuff. Like, what is going on here? And it was not a superstore. So, but this was also when they had, CDs that you could buy or whatever.
Oh, they
I
still
was
have them.
Really?
Oh yeah, those the bottom floor, like 2 rows were all DVDs, and I was in there with Stacy, our producer, and she was like, "DVDs, wow!" And I said, "Yeah, well, I guess some people don't want to stream it; they don't want that out in the world. So you go buy a DVD or rent a DVD from this place, and then no one has to know."
Wait, can you rent them?
I don't.
Or do you have to buy them?
you guys, I was just, I was back home.
Is it called Cockbuster instead of Blockbuster?
I was just back home for my my mom's 80th birthday, and my sister and brother and I were talking about how when they were teenagers, they used to go to it wasn't Blockbuster, but it was like the video store. And there was, remember there was like the adult section,
The curtain.
in the back with the curtain.
Yeah.
And so one of them would sneak in there. They'd get and like the adult films were like all based on like, some big blockbuster. So they'd have like a name like
Independence Day or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so they'd have something related. So they
Independence Day.
Yeah, exactly. So they would get the like Independence Day from the front section, and they'd switch the video. This is back when they were like videos, and they'd switch the video and put the laugh and laugh and laugh and imagine like how irate the family who goes to put on Independence Day and is like, what? And then but even more irate is the person who went back behind the
curtain and brought home Will Smith instead.
And they're like, what?
That's hysterical.
That's funny.
Well, to clear our name for the position of the day book and anybody who might think we're prudes, there are some in here that we could definitely do. Right?
Yeah,
Yes,
listen,
that is true.
The ones that I
Doggy
flagged
style
here,
while balancing on a chair, we could do that.
I started from the back and I was like, okay, I would just put like a Post-it every time there was
on
something.
the ones you can or can't do?
No, the ones that I can't, that I was like, okay, no, my knees don't do that. Like I don't have the abs
out
for
of
that.
365, there's not that many you can't do.
Okay, I ran out of Post-it notes.
Okay. We need some 8005S. We need some 8005S.
But also there are definitely more than a few that I'm available.
Wait, so you Post-it noted the ones you're available for?
No, that I cannot do.
Oh.
No, that I cannot do. I was just like, this is nonsense. So I was going to have a system where I was going to have a whole color-coded system. And then I just was like, no, this is nonsense.
I ran out of Post-it notes.
I'm done.
That's so funny. Like position 13, the backstab is just doggy style. Anybody can do that.
Some of them are like,
Yeah, some of them.
Anyone can do that.
And especially take the butt plug out and then you're all set. Right? No, yeah.
Oh my God.
So we're not prudes, but some of these are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. They're just hysterical. I mean, even the back cover. Just buy it for the back cover. And you go, well, I would never do some of these because they just look like they'd be so uncomfortable.
there were some that we were like, I'm sorry,
is this guy
that an
hanging
arm
off a chair?
or a leg? I know, right?
Is he hanging off the bed? Okay.
Well, that's a chair.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because she's laying flat. I'm talking about number 4 here.
Oh, number 4. Sorry.
Like realistically
I guess that's a
speaking, you can probably
And why?
with
Why
any
would he do
decent
that?
imagination, you can figure out what positions can be done. And these are ones that take it a step further. Or a few steps further.
Like this one, yeah. I mean, I don't get it. I literally don't understand.
We should have drank with this podcast. What were we
should have
thinking?
drank.
What were we
I know.
thinking?
That was really bad move on my
That
part.
was-
Who's my producer? You're fired. Oh, wait, that's me. Never mind. Oh,
Never
my
mind.
gosh. Yeah, some
Like
of
this
these.
man has to have an upside down penis to make this work.
He does. He's got the ones
Like,
that crook down.
literally, like
Because, they make all
he
kinds.
is not in a position
God.
where
Maybe
that would
that's what it
penetrate
is.
any part of her body. I'm just
Maybe
saying.
this is for people who have like the
upside
the
down
crooked
penis.
penis. Because they are. Some
crooked.
people.
It's upside down.
I know,
mean,
well,
it is
depending on the
literally-
position, crooked might work better.
Don't body shame
Maybe.
him.
I'm not a body shame. I'm empowering him. I'm giving him positions he can do with his crooked ass penis.
Oh.
Well, thank you for being brave and talking about this. It was really fun. It was really fun. It was almost as
Sorry.
good as hanging out with you guys, but I'd rather just hang out with you, not on the podcast. Also, well,
And we could talk about this then too.
we will. More in depth. We can share like war stories of that one time I fell off the bed. I'm just kidding.
I asked Cathy at our Girl Scout meeting. I said, "Oh, so you did we narrow down a time for the podcast because it was sort of up in the air about when we were going to do this?" And one of the girls heard me saying that and said, "Oh, what are you podcasting about?" And I went, "Oh, it's just a book club." "Oh, what's the book?" Because they're
half
very
of them, they all love to read.
They
they're
love to
huge
read, yeah.
readers.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Oh, it's just a self-help book. It's
Like it's about being in a long-term relationship.
It's a
Yeah.
self-help book.
Then she wasn't interested as soon as Cathy was like, "Yeah, it's about being in a
Thank God.
long-term relationship."
They're
She was
15 and they could care less.
Right.
about a
Long term. You
relationship.
mean the end of the week? Like
Right.
that? That's funny.
Yeah.
Phew. Good save.
Yeah.
That's a
We
good
did dodge
save.
that
Okay, next book club, Sociopath. Is a good one. We'll have a lot to
Awesome.
discuss.
Great.
All right, see y'all next time.